We don't worry about it. We know it's all good. We just keep on vibing.
Good morning, everyone. So I am currently getting ready for a crazy week ahead that I've got planned. I've got about a week off with Emirates for annual leave, and me and Zach are just packing up, ready to go to Kenya for a project of his. And I am so keen because we're going to do full safari and like really small planes and all that crazy stuff and stay out in the middle of nowhere. I am really excited to have some time off work, actually to catch a flight as well. It's not me working on it, and just to spend some time with Zach and his friends and what he does for a living, and it's gonna be so much fun. We also went out to dinner last night to one of the guys' places, the main guy that's organizing the trip, and it was such a beautiful apartment. Honestly, it's so nice. I mean, I love Dubai Creek Harbour, don't get me wrong, but it is something different when you're out in the downtown with the birds and all the city lights. Yeah, it was such a vibe. We got to meet a few people that went on that trip last time because they just did a Kenya trip maybe like a month ago, which it went so well, which is why we're going this time. So we're just finishing up. We're about to head to the airport, and I am very excited. And I'm going to take you guys along with me, so I hope you guys enjoy the trip. And yeah, I'm going to show you what we get up to.
We know it's all fine. We just keep this party.
See this grey suitcase right here? We found out at dinner last night that we couldn't actually take this big of a suitcase because although we're flying to Nairobi with Emirates, we were going to be flying on some tiny aircraft between our safari camps in the middle of Kenya. And I'll show you guys later why I'm so glad we changed our suitcases.
Shoot the breeze. You got me down to a T.
So fun fact, I find taxis are generally cheaper than the rideshare apps in Dubai, and we actually order all our taxis through the Careem app, which for those of you that don't live in Dubai, it is one of the main apps, just like Uber or Lyft. And prices are super reasonable as we don't live far from DXB Airport. It honestly costs us around $9. Now, although we're flying Emirates, we aren't staff traveling today because we're headed to Kenya with Where Is This, which is a company we're creating content with. So the flights were all confirmed through them, which is so nice because Zach and I usually are staff traveling with Emirates, which means our tickets are always standby, which means they don't get confirmed to the last minute and we are always left with no time to enjoy the lounges.
Till we see the sun. Yeah, we don't.
So we just got to the airport really early because we both have lounge access, and it's the best thing you can ever get with the credit cards. Zach's just run off to the business class lounge because he has a little bit more access than I do, but he's going to be back very soon. So I'm just going to dig into some food and get ready before we go on our flight to Nairobi.
Zach also did a sneaky and got me a Costa coffee from the business lounge, as well as some snacks for the road. Also, maybe I'm blind, but I swear I haven't seen this Emirates merch store before. But it's actually funny because I went to the one in Dubai Mall just the other day and I honestly felt like a kid in a candy store. Keep an eye out on my Instagram for the reel I'm putting out soon, and you best believe I bought some Emirates branded stuff. Now, am I the only flight attendant that loves flying on days off, knowing I don't have to do service and I'm actually going to a destination where I can spend more than 24 hours? I even got Zach on the Polaroid camera, which if you didn't know, we use this Emirates Cabin Crew as a fun little extra thing on board. Honestly, we were vibing with the crew and just taking a whole bunch of photos. It was such a great flight, and we even managed to get some editing done.
We know it's all fine.
Nairobi Airport was a little strange in the fact that we had an aero bridge attached but still had to get bused to a separate area to be processed. Also, side note, how good does our Boeing 777 look here?
Don't worry about it. No, we don't worry about it.
After all that, finally, we were on our way, and we even had the Game Watchers Safari team waiting for us with our epic itinerary breakdown for the week, which is the whole reason we're here in Kenya. Basically, our trip is about creating content for Game Watchers Safari, specifically Porini camps, and Game Watchers have a whole heap of different camps spread all over Kenya. And our trip was all organized through Where Is This, which is a creator company Zach is involved with, and honestly, I haven't been this excited for a trip because the fact that it lined up with my time off with Emirates was unreal. Now, tomorrow we're splitting up, so as soon as we got to the hotel, we went straight to the restaurant, mostly because we're hungry, but also because we need to run through our plans. And if you think the mango juice on Qatar is good, I'm telling you, this mango juice here in Kenya is unreal. We ended up moving inside because it actually started torrentially raining randomly, but I think it's just the time of the year in Kenya. Now, I was a little worried about how it was going to be in Kenya with vegan options for Zach and I, but we were off to an incredible start with falafel burgers and coconut pumpkin soup. If you don't know, I love a good hotel room tour, and this hotel was pretty nice, and I'm a big fan of the half-frosted glass in the bathroom area. As you can imagine, I was pretty excited for our flight tomorrow. All I knew is we were flying on some small aircrafts, but I did manage to look up our flights from our itinerary. Also, the service at the hotel was fantastic. Definitely do not get my bags brought up to my hotel room when I'm on a layover with Emirates. It just makes such a difference. And they even had a little gift on the bed for us as well.
Good morning, and we are ready to go on our first flight. We've just finished up our first night, and it's early morning here in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm super excited to get on a little aircraft and just go for a flight out in the middle of Kenya, where we're going to stay at a Rhino camp, me and Zach, and we're going to film some stuff for the camp there. It's going to be super fun, and it's going to be a little bit different to any layover I've ever done with Emirates because I actually get some decent time to spend here. I have only been to Zimbabwe before with Emirates, so it's going to be a little bit different going on a full-blown safari. Zach's just ducked outside to get a few things, and then we're going to be heading down to get the car to the airport.
Now, remember when I said we're glad we changed our suitcase sizes? Well, poor Josh here had to leave his big suitcase behind and purchase duffel bags for the rest of the trip. Luckily, he can just pick up his big suitcase on the way back. This has to be the smallest airport I've ever been in, but I love the fact the aircraft are parked right outside. This aircraft here is the Dash 7, and it's not the plane we're taking. Ours is actually the Twin Otter, and it's even smaller than this. Now, literally the first thing I do when I'm in a new country is try and hunt down a postcard and pin. They are my little souvenirs I collect when I travel, but I couldn't find any just yet. Also, I gotta give it to Air Kenya. This airport is tiny, but this little upstairs area is vibey as. They even had their own plant-based milk at their cute little cafe, which blew my mind. This is Josh and Christian and my boyfriend Zach, who are all crazy talented photographers. We are also meeting another couple in the second camp. They got delayed from Europe, unfortunately, so they're flying in a day late. But here's our plane pulling up right now.
Our first stop will be Nanyuki, taking us 35 minutes, and then from there, Meru, an extra 20 minutes from there, and an extra 22 minutes to Isiolo, Samburu, okay? You're on board a Twin Otter.
Of course, the flight attendant in me listened thoroughly to the whole safety demo, and the weather was a little hay going, so we got to feel that turbulence because, let's be honest, this is no A380. But even being a little nervy about the weather, the takeoff was so cool, and just being on a prop plane was wild. The only other time I've been on a prop plane is an ATR at my old airline Virgin, and a caravan when I did a scenic tour back in Oz. Big shout out to Air Kenya because we even had a little in-flight service consisting of lollies and water and entertainment, which you could even take the magazine with you. Now, only Zach and I were getting off at Nanyuki, and the others were going to a different camp, and then in 2 days' time, we were all meeting up at our second camp, the Lion Camp. Also, this is literally the cargo hold, which you can see why we couldn't take those big suitcases. Now, I don't know about you, but when I saw these safari cars, I lost it. They are so cool. It literally felt like we were in a movie, and specifically Jurassic Park. How long's our drive?
The drive is 3 hours drive to the camp. Yeah.
This is awesome. All right, we just landed in Nanyuki and we're about to take a 3-hour drive in this cool safari looking car, and we're going to see some animals and we're super keen.
Also, not gonna lie, Zach and I were a little bit confused about the ponchos, but as soon as we started driving, we realized it gets a little chilly with the wind and sometimes rain.
So the park is called on Pejeta Conservancy. It's a 90,000 acres, which is all of their fence. And we have about 200 rhinos. These are black and white. About 160 black rhinos and about 44 plus white rhinos. Also, we have the last 2 northern whites, which are left in the old world in this area. So you're most welcome to our Pejeta and hope you enjoy with us.
Now, Zach didn't think this was cool, but I was literally standing on the equator, which blew my mind. I feel like this is a real bucket list kind of moment. But Zach was more interested in the animals, which when we saw some gazelle, we were so excited, and we didn't really realize that they are literally everywhere in the Conservancy. Seeing warthogs for the first time in my entire life felt like such a Lion King moment, but wait till I show you in my second vlog the craziest thing that happened with warthogs when we were staying at the Lion Camp. We also scored our first glimpse of a rhino and zebras and an African elephant. Literally, the African wildlife was coming at us. Having an open car was so vibey as well. I always thought it was super dangerous having an open car on a safari, but the animals are so chill, it's like they don't even care that we're there. The craziest part about this whole drive is we weren't even at the camp yet. This is literally just the drive there. Would you also believe that this is the heaviest flying bird on the planet? And of course, we got some giraffes. I honestly think they are my favorite African animal. The colors and their size, there's just nothing like them. We also got so lucky. We found out when we arrived, we were the only ones staying at the Rhino camp for the entire time we're here. So it was like having our own private accommodation. This was the dining area which overlooked the waterhole they have right next to the camp, which normally has heaps of animals there as it's the main spot to drink from in the area. It had just been raining the past couple of days, so it wasn't as busy as usual, but we did have a cheeky little elephant hanging around. And this was a full-blown camping safari setup. No fences around, sleeping in tents in the middle of the wild in Africa. I'm sorry, but how crazy cool is this? The room was set up beautifully for us. They ran us through everything as well, telling us that the whole place runs off solar and we have a normal running toilet, which is nice because I was a little bit worried. Thus, the showers do run off a bucket system, which means they fill them up for us on request with heated water, and we have maybe like 5 minutes for the shower to run. But honestly, this is still glamping big time. Let's be real. They also had insect repellent wipes for us, which I did get around straight away because I was in shorts and we want to make sure that we are super careful about the whole mosquito situation. Now, it was getting a little late in the afternoon and we hadn't had lunch yet, and it was like 3:30 by this time, so we were starving after our long drive in. Zach had a few work things to do, so he set up while we waited for lunch, and on the menu today was a dal style dish with veg and chapati. We also had a salad for a starter and a fruit salad for dessert. And literally straight after lunch, we were out again for our second game drive.
Devil's on your brain. The devil's on your brain. Second time around was a winner.
So this here is a striped hyena, which is apparently super rare to see, and it was not having a bar of us compared to the spotted hyena we saw after, which did not even care we were there. Now, these safari drives we're going on are actually known as game drives, and the plan is we are having a game drive every morning and every afternoon because that's when the animals are most lively. All the Perini safari cars have PowerPoint chargers, which is a game changer because we are literally spending hours out on these drives. And the game drives in the afternoon are called sundowners, and that's where we have a snack and a drink watching the sunset and the animals, which is what we're doing right now. And can you believe we parked up right next to an airstrip? We were actually meant to fly into this one so we wouldn't have a 3-hour drive in, but it was too wet to land on. It was also crazy watching all the animals just walk all over the airstrip. Now, this was a work-related trip for Zach, so we were shooting as much content as we could during everything we were doing on the safaris. Once we got back to the camp, we were straight into dinner, and I am not joking here. The soups I had at Perini camps were the best I've ever had in my entire life. I even asked them to send me the recipe because they were that good. And just to top the night off, we had hot water bottles waiting for us in our bed, which was so cozy because if you'd believe me, it was actually really cold at night because of where we were staying. It was such high altitude.
You want to take my hand away from me.
Good morning from Perini Rhino Camp. We're about to go out on a little safari drive, but we just spent our first night in the Conservancy and it was so cool. We had some animals around us. It's fully unfenced, which is really cool, and we have a water hole just in front of our tent. And it's going to be such a good morning. We're going for a picnic breakfast and then we're going to go see some rhinos. We saw a few yesterday and man, it was so cool. I am a little bit rugged up just because we were cold last night, but it just gets a little bit chilly in the mornings and the evenings here in Africa. So we're just getting a little bit more prepared than we were yesterday. But I have my cute little safari outfit on underneath here and I'm super excited to take some photos and videos with Zach today. It's going to be so much fun.
Wanted to forget you so bad that I tried till I couldn't feel the weight of my tongue. I shouted till I couldn't feel the air in my lungs. I wanted to regret you so bad. I was skydiving, high flying, running away. Too scared to admit that I was lying to myself. Lying to myself.
I swear, any baby animal are just the cutest little thing in the world. I honestly would have been so happy staying here all day, just watching them do their thing. And we were on a roll seeing the cutest animals this morning. These are called jackals and they remind me of foxes and they're just so pretty. And get a load of these elephants. At first we thought it was just tossing rocks for fun, but we were also trying to figure out if it was collecting things on its back or it was just trying to get the stuff off of its back. Either way, they were just so fun to sit and watch, just playing around, and even this one was eating dirt. Speaking of eating, Zach and I were so keen for our first picnic breakfast in Kenya. Perini camps are also so great because they keep the same guys driving us every day, which is just so nice to get to know them. And can we just take a moment for this breakfast? Everything here is fully vegan, which they actually made on site at the camp before we headed out. It was just so nice to know they're super accommodating to any dietary requirements, and they just looked after us big time. Now, we were only going on a short game drive this morning because we were actually headed to a few different sanctuaries within the Conservancy, with our first one being the Chimpanzee Sanctuary. Now, I don't know much about chimpanzees, but like all animals, they're important and deserve to live their best animal lives. They walked us through how a lot of the chimps are sold and shipped in illegal animal trafficking around the world. So all the chimps here are rescues, but sadly cannot be released back into the wild due to the fact they wouldn't survive. And also, really sadly, they had to stay somewhat locked up because they are dangerous to people because of how they were treated by their captors in the past. Crazily, the sanctuary even had an emergency cage for us, as they had chimps cheekily jump the fence by putting branches over the electric parts and climbing over. Now, the next stop was the sanctuary where the last two northern white rhinos are kept, but on the way there we got crazy lucky, with literally a family of southern white rhinos beside us on the road. This was the closest we got to rhinos the whole trip, and there is a reason the camp is called the Perini Rhino Camp. This was literally unreal. Looking at these creatures, they look like dinosaurs. We honestly do not deserve them. They are such an incredible animal. Something I also love about the old Pejeta Conservancy, which I'm not sure if you've noticed, is the amount of young animals in it. With baby hyenas to elephants to rhinos and even some giraffes, it's just so nice to know the next generation are alive and growing. An interesting thing we also found out is the Conservancy where we are actually farm beef cattle. So there are farmers and cows literally everywhere, as it's one of their main sources of income. Now, at the next sanctuary, we ended up not seeing the last two northern whites because it was actually quite expensive, which is fair enough, but we were happy just to leave them be and look at all these monkeys. They were literally everywhere around us when we arrived, and this was our first glimpse of the African monkey, and they are adorable, and can I say, more babies as well. Now, Zach and I were a little taken back by this room at first, but it showed us all the different species of animals they have here in the Conservancy, and the amount of bones was insane. Comparing all the sizes, and they actually encouraged us to feel everything, but it was a super interesting experience, and they did let us know that all the bones and skins from the animals had been collected over the years and years in the Conservancy of the different animals passing away from natural causes, and even some they had taken years ago from poachers which got caught with the animal. And leading on from that, something really interesting is the Conservancy actually has a full security setup around the whole perimeter, rangers everywhere, and it has been poacher free since 2016, which I really hope it stays that way forever.
Too scared to admit that I was lying to myself. Lying to myself.
When we got back to the camp, there was actually a ton of water buffalo and elephants out by the water hole, so the camp staff told us we had to get out to the hide straight away, which the hide is literally a shipping container the Perini camp buried so the animals don't know you're there.
Okay guys, right now I'm in a shipping container buried underground at the camp that I'm staying at, so you can watch the animals of the waterhole in the wild.
I even made a TikTok about it, and it was such a wild experience. It was definitely something super unique about the Rhino camp, which none of the other Perini camps have, so definitely something to consider if you're planning a safari in Kenya. Now, I personally was loving our jam-packed itinerary, so we were straight into lunch because we only had maybe an hour before Zag needed to take some photos and videos of the other tents for the Perini camps, which was important as this was the reason we were here. I honestly love watching Zach work. He's such a good photographer and videographer. This trip was just making me so excited for our future together, because ideally this is what Zach and I will be doing in the future, being able to travel together full time where I can jump in the video or photos wherever he needs, and he creates this incredible content. It was really giving me a real taste of what life is going to be like after I finish up with Emirates. Now, the sundowner was very similar to last night, so Zach and I just enjoyed our afternoon together before coming back to the camp where they had a campfire and dinner waiting for us. And something that still blows my mind is the fact that we are escorted to our tents, and not by just anyone, someone who is trained to know if any wild animals are hanging around and can fight them. So stick around for my next vlog where I show you exactly what we have to use to get from our tents at night to the common areas at the Perini camps in Kenya.